A millionaire CEO panics without a French translator. Until the poor janitor takes over. But before we dive in, leave a comment and let us know where you are watching from today. And if you believe greatness comes from unexpected places, hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful stories just like this one. His company, Valitech Industries, had just signed a groundbreaking AI deal with the European market, and this morning was supposed to seal it. A team of French delegates from Paris had flown in overnight, ready to finalize the multi-million-dollar partnership. Nicolas Vale, 42, was one of the youngest CEOs to lead a multinational tech firm. He stood in the grand conference hall of the Marlowe Hotel, flanked by advisors, assistants, and investors. Nicolas, always in control, was calm until someone whispered urgently in his ear. The translator didn't show. He blinked. "What do you mean?" "She missed her flight. We tried calling the backup." No response. "No." She wiped the glass doors just outside the conference hall, listening as chaos unfolded inside. Nicolas's heart skipped. This presentation had taken months to prepare. Without a translator, the meeting was doomed. His entire pitch was in English. The French delegates, polite but limited in English, stood waiting with raised brows. He stepped away from the podium, whispering to his assistant, "Find anyone who speaks fluent French." From across the room, someone watched, quiet limope in hand, unnoticed by the powerful. Her name was Josie Alvarez, 36, a single mom, a janitor. She tilted her head as a delegate asked a question in perfect Parisian French. Josie understood every word, because long before she scrubbed floors, Josie had studied in Lyon. She once dreamed of being a diplomat, but life, heartbreak, and raising a daughter alone in a new country changed her plans. Now, here she was holding a mop, watching a CEO unravel over a language barrier she could break with a single sentence. She inhaled deeply, stepped forward, and changed everything. Nicolas was seconds from canceling the meeting when he heard it. Fluently. "I lived in France for 8 years. I was a cultural liaison for a non-profit before." She paused. "Before I became a mother." "Excusez-moi, Monsieur Vale." A soft, confident voice. Fluent. Unmistakable. He turned sharply. Standing near the doorway was Josie, still in her janitor's uniform, still holding the mop. "You're on." Nicolas stared at her, confused. "Did you just speak French?" She nodded, switching back to English. One of the French delegates stepped forward. "Your accent is excellent. Are you available to interpret?" Then turned to Josie. "Your interpreter made all the difference. We are ready to proceed." She didn't just repeat words, she connected people. Delegates nodded in approval, smiled, laughed. Josie glanced at Nicolas. "That's not up to me." Nicolas was speechless. His team was panicking, the clock was ticking, the investors were watching. "Fine," he said finally. She set them up aside, smoothed her uniform, and walked to the front with quiet authority, even when no one speaking to her. What happened next stunned everyone. Josie translated every sentence, flawless tone, nuance, industry jargon. She switched between speakers like a seasoned pro. By the end of the hour, the French lead delegate turned to Nicolas and said. Applause filled the room. Nicolas blinked, stunned. "I wanted to work in international relations. Then I had my daughter, got divorced, came home. But the bills didn't stop just because my dreams did." "Who are you?" She smiled gently. "Just someone who listens." After the meeting, the room buzzed with excitement. Nicolas's assistant pulled him aside. "You just saved the deal." "No," he said slowly, eyes on Josie. "She did, to help when she can, even if no one expects it from her." He walked over to her, now gathering her cleaning supplies again, as if nothing had happened. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" he asked. Josie shrugged. "Would anyone have listened?" He was silent. "People see the uniform," she said softly, "not the person inside it." Nicolas looked genuinely ashamed. "Where did you learn French like that?" "I got a scholarship to a university in Lyon." Nicolas was quiet for a long time. Then he asked, "What's your daughter's name?" "Sophia. She's 7. She must be proud of you." Josie smiled. "I hope so. I tell her to be brave." Nicolas nodded slowly. "You saved this company millions." He glanced at her badge. "Josie Alvarez," he smiled. "You're not going back to the janitor closet." The next morning, Josie arrived early for her shift, but her badge didn't work. She was about to panic until security told her she'd been reassigned. "To where?" she asked. "Executive floor, temporary interpreter placement." She blinked. That has to be a mistake. But it wasn't. Nicolas had filed the change himself. Josie rode the elevator in silence. Everything smelled of perfume and polished power. She felt like a ghost, until she walked into a conference room and found herself face to face with Nicolas again. He smiled. "Hope you like cappuccino." She looked at the coffee cup in front of her. "This is too much." "No, it's not," he said. "You deserve better." She hesitated. "Is this a real job? Or charity?" He met her eyes. "I don't do charity, but I do invest in talent." She crossed her arms. "Then give me a chance to earn it." Nicolas grinned. "I already saw what you can do under pressure. Let's see what you can do with time." Later that week, Josie stood outside the school gate, holding a juice box and a lunch sack. Her daughter, Sophia, ran into her arms. "Mom, guess what? We're going on a field trip to the city museum." Josie smiled. brushing hair from her daughter's face. That's amazing, Sophia beamed. You'll come, right? They need chaperones. Josie hesitated. She hadn't taken a day off in months. Then she remembered Nicholas's words. You deserve better. Count me in, she said. Sophia's eyes lit up. Yay. And guess what else? I told my friend that you speak French. She didn't believe me. Josie laughed. Well, maybe one day I'll prove it. I'll teach you everything I know. Baby girl, can I learn to? Sophia asked. Will you teach me? Josie knelt down. Back at Valitech, word of Josie's story began to spread. Some dismissed it as a fluke. Others whispered that she had something special. But only Nicholas knew the full truth, because while reviewing Josie's personnel file, he found something that stopped him cold. She'd never even submitted a resume. She was hired through a temp agency. No degree listed, no credentials on file. But when he dug deeper, he discovered her thesis published in the French diplomacy journal. Her name, Josefina Alvarez Moren, was once praised by French ambassadors. She wasn't just fluent, she was brilliant. Nicholas sat back in his chair, staring out the window. How many other geniuses, he whispered, are sweeping floors just to survive? And then he had an idea. A wild one. But it just might work. One that would take Josie and her daughter from overlooked to unstoppable. And he wasn't going to wait. Because Josie Alvarez wasn't going to mop another floor again. Not under his watch. The meeting room was dead silent. CEO Patrick Lancaster had been moments away from canceling the entire session with France's top investors and officials. Cassandra's voice, calm and composed, hung in the air like a forgotten melody. Julien Dupont, the French Minister of Innovation, blinked in surprise. Vous parlez français. What had once been snickers turned into I do, she replied gently, fluently, and with context. The translator, who was supposed to arrive well-paid and highly until Cassandra, the janitor he never noticed, stepped forward and began translating flawlessly. At first, the executives thought it was a prank, but as she went on, effortlessly shifting between French and English, weaving in technical terms and diplomatic nuance, the room transformed. Julien smiled. Your accent, it's native. Where did you study? Cassandra hesitated. Because after my husband died and the bills kept coming, no one would hire a single mom with a 7-year resume gap. But Dur doesn't discriminate. I don't know how you found her, but you'd be foolish not to promote her. I was there for a while. Before life happened. Patrick blinked. ENS? That was one of the most prestigious institutions in Europe. He leaned forward slowly, studying her. Cassandra. Why are you working here as a janitor? Most wouldn't care that I speak 5 languages or that I once developed curriculum for international schools. They'd just see a woman with a mop. You've passed me in the hall nearly every night for a year and never once asked my name. Her eyes didn't waver. The room was silent again. Patrick opened his mouth but said nothing. Julien turned to the board, and just like that, a room full of millionaires started listening to the janitor. After the meeting, Patrick asked Cassandra to stay behind. They stood alone in the conference room, her cleaning cart sitting awkwardly by the door. I don't get it, he said. You're clearly brilliant. Why didn't you say anything before today? Cassandra gave a tired smile. Because people only see what they want to. Patrick rubbed his temples. I didn't mean for you to be overlooked, didn't you? She said gently. He flinched. That's fair. Then he picked up a file from the table and handed it to her. Here, he said, this is the marketing deck you just saved. I want you to rewrite it in French, in English, in whatever you think will work. You clearly understand people better than my entire comms team. She raised an eyebrow. And what's my title? Patrick hesitated. You tell me. Her smile was slow. Start with advisor to the CEO. And get me a laptop that doesn't crash when I open Excel. They both laughed, but beneath it was something deeper. Respect and a shift in power Patrick hadn't anticipated. Back in her tiny apartment, Cassandra tucked her daughter Olivia into bed. The little girl yawned. Mommy, were you the boss today? Cassandra smiled, brushing hair from Olivia's forehead. Something like that. Did you wear a suit? Nope, just my old uniform. But they listened anyway. Olivia grinned sleepily. That's cooler than a suit. Cassandra stared out the window as her daughter drifted off. She hadn't worn heels in years, or makeup, or held a proper title. But somehow, that morning, in a janitor's uniform with her badge still clipped to her belt, she had stepped into a room full of power and held her ground, and they listened. Her mind wandered to Patrick. He was arrogant, sure but also curious, and maybe, just maybe, redeemable. Was that Cassandra's past wasn't just filled with credentials, but what he didn't know yet, it was also filled with betrayal. A man named Elliot Brooks, her former partner, and walked away with a $20 million Series A deal, while she was left homeless with a toddler. CEO of Lexitech, Patrick Lancaster's fiercest competitor, the man who had once stolen Cassandra's research, branded it his own. She hadn't seen him in years, until yesterday, when she spotted his name on a leaked email thread about a pending acquisition. Lexitech was trying to buy out Lancaster Corp's platoon she now knew was deeply flawed. But what Elliot didn't know, Cassandra had the fix. And she wasn't going to stay silent this time. But the current version has a vulnerability Elliot's team doesn't know about. I can patch it, but I want full credit and the chance to present it myself to the board. The next morning, Cassandra walked into the office not with a mop, but with a USB drive in her hand. Patrick met her at the elevator. "You're early," he said, surprised, until he filed a false IP claim and kicked me out. "I don't sleep much when ghosts are awake," she replied. He raised an eyebrow. "Okay, that's cryptic." She held up the USB. "Lexitech is moving on your patent next week, because if Elliot wins, the world loses. He's reckless with power, and I won't let him profit off my work again." Patrick stared at her like she'd grown wings. "You used to work with Elliot." "I built most of his early neural framework models," she said flatly. Patrick's expression darkened. "And you still want to help me?" She nodded. Patrick reached for the USB, then stopped. "Are you sure about this? It'll drag your name back into the spotlight, and probably his too." Cassandra's voice was calm. "Then let the lights come on. I'm done cleaning up in the dark."